Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for coming today, and thank you for anyone who's watching us via live streaming. The commissioner sends his regrets. He is on the highway today at a co-op doing a presentation, he and Dr. Gocher, so they wish they could be with us all the time, but we will move on without them. So today what I wanted to do was, if you were with us June 1st and 2nd, just kind of catch you up to where we are today. If you were not with us on June 1st and 2nd, to catch you up with what happened on those days. So we'll move along. The commissioner has been out making presentations to co-ops, to every organization that we could possibly get on the agenda to talk about our vision. In fact, yesterday, just as an example, we started out at the Hot Springs Technology Institute conference, the HISTE conference. We started there, and he presented. We left there and went to Arkansas ASCD, and he presented there. And then Dr. Gocher and I went to a co-op board meeting for the Wilbur Mills Co-op. So we hit 3 of them yesterday and gave a similar presentation. Commissioner Key starts out his presentations by talking a little bit about what's changed in your lifetime. So if you look at this picture, I can probably pretty well tell your age if you can tell me which phone you had in your home in the beginning. Is it on there? The rotary? The rotary's the black one in the middle. I think ours was a different color. How many of you had the rotary dial wall phone? Didn't you love it? You got about 2 or 3 numbers in and you realized you dialed the wrong number? Hang up, start over. Yes, Commissioner Keys calls that the first social media. Yeah, the first social media was Party Line. You could listen in on other people's conversations. And then you got a private line. Yeah. Yes. How many rings were you? Who had a party line? What was your ring? 2 rings? Somebody yesterday said they had one that was 4 rings. I thought, 4 rings? I bet everybody on the line was already on the phone by the time you picked up. So it sure has changed. And just think about, as a result of just this one technology change, how has your life changed? Communication, it's much faster. Just a few years ago, could you imagine talking to someone in your car? And now you probably do it every day. I live by the calendar on my computer and my cell phone. If something happened, I wouldn't even know where to go this afternoon. That's how reliant we are on these changes. That's how much it's changed. Well, so have schools. Schools have changed, some of them. Some of them kind of look like this. Some of you may have gone to schools that look like one of those pictures. I certainly went to a school where we sat in straight rows in individual chairs. But now they're beginning to look like this. Anybody recognize this school? It's Cross County High School. Cross County High School is a very small high school in the Delta that is really getting it done for kids. Everybody has a laptop. Kids coming together in rooms that look like this. They've torn down the walls that separate kids, and there's glass, there's tables. In fact, in that room with the glass, you can see there's some blue couches where kids can get together and work together. There's chairs that move around, tables that move around. They can move the furniture. There's a bar, just like you might go to a restaurant and work. They're setting up together, working together. There's lots of different heights. Some of us work better at the bar at your kitchen. Some of you work at a desk. Some of you work on a table. Some of you are probably sitting in your recliner with your laptop in your lap. And that's exactly what the kids are doing. As you know, we've tried to involve many stakeholders. We continue to want to involve stakeholders. In fact, Commissioner Key met recently with a group of students to talk to them about what should the student voice piece look like in this vision. And he's asked them to design the student voice piece. He didn't say, this is how I want the student voice to be included. He asked the kids to say, how should we involve student voice in the piece? So it's really about doing business differently. So our vision, my vision, your vision, the commissioner's vision, our vision is moving to a student-focused educational system. The goal is not to mandate to schools how the student-focused education system looks, but to encourage them to design one that fits the best needs of their students. Just like here in our agency, the best needs of your unit may be different from the needs of another unit. So we need to be thinking about each individual and how we best serve them. Our mission continues to be leadership, service, and support, but not just to schools, but to schools, districts, and communities. What we're realizing is we really have to go beyond just the school boundaries. We have to reach out into the communities and make sure the parents are a part of this, that the business leaders are a part of it, that all of the taxpayers are engaged in the schooling system to best meet the needs of those individual students. I hope that you've been studying the value statements because they really become the statements by which we live. And as we go through this process over the next 5, 10, 15 years, I hope that you see the culture of our agencies change. I hope that you see the culture of our school districts change as a result of this great work that you're doing. As you know, we set 5 goals, and from those goals, we've been working, and if you'll pull up our webpage, Commissioner Key unveiled a new webpage on our website. And if we go to the website, we go to About, drop down under third one, Vision for Excellence in Education. You'll actually see those students that Commissioner Key was meeting with that day. There's the vision statement, our mission statement. There's our own teammates working together. Our value statements that reflect that symbol that we put on every document that really outlines what leadership, support, and service looks like. Our goals, students that Commissioner Key's been meeting with and talking to about our vision. And then you'll see a place where we're asking for community feedback. So anytime that you're out or you're speaking to someone, if someone stops you on the street and says, hey, what's going on at the department? Say, you know, we've got a vision, mission, values, and goal statements on our website, and we'd love to have your feedback on it. So our first phase of feedback in this process is to get buy-in, to find out how people feel about the vision, the mission, the values, and the goals. The second phase then will be moving on to talk about how we're going to measure that, how we're going to hold ourselves accountable, what our state accountability process will look like. If you scroll back up just a little bit, you'll see over to the right related links. And Tiffany, that says, read those words to me. Strategic planning meeting log. As a part of those value statements, if you remember in those value statements, it said that we would be transparent. And so if you click on that link, our teammates have been putting together a list of all of the meetings regarding the vision, mission, values, and goals. And you'll see at the bottom there's 2015 meetings and 2016 meetings. So if you click on 2016 meetings, and you'll see when the commissioner's been meeting, and the other assistant commissioners will be adding theirs to this. This is a work in progress. And over to the right, you'll see that you can go in there at any time, see what presentation was made. You can see if a survey was provided and if there is survey results. So can you click down to one that has survey results? There's one. And you can, there's the survey, and then find one that's you see results on. And then you can see the results of those surveys. So we're trying to make every bit of it transparent. And overwhelmingly, we've had great support so far for the vision, the mission, the values, and the goals. So in essence, what they're saying is, ADE, you're on the right track. This is the agency that we want to see for the future. This is the vision that we all share. We are already beginning to hear back from school districts how they're incorporating this same vision in their work. In fact, last week at the state board meeting, one of the school districts had revised their work to be aligned with our vision. There was a great article that came out first of this week about the school changes that are going on, and it incorporated the vision. AAEA, the administrators organization, has been working on a vision for education that is closely aligned. And of course, all of this work aligns with Forward Arkansas. So if you've not read the Forward Arkansas report, I encourage you to go to forwardarkansas.org and read that document, because that really gives us that generational change that we want to bring to Arkansas. All right, if you'll take us back to our PowerPoint. As we discussed previously, but I wanted to put these slides back in there for you, and I sent this to you yesterday just as a quick reminder that once we had our goals, then for each goal we wrote strategies. And just as a reminder that the strategies are read across. So I've tried to take out all of the words that were repeated, so it's just easier to read across. So for goal 1, we believe when ADE advocates for policies and provides guidance to enable student-focused learning systems, and educators, which would be all of our school partners, implement student-focused learning systems, then students will meet or exceed those readiness benchmarks. So those are just kinds of your theories of change that will come about as this work comes together. We wrote those for each one, and I won't read them to you. You're certainly capable of reading them. If you notice as you go through there that I've bolded and underlined some key words. Those key words lead us to our visual that kind of helps put this all together in our mind and gets us prepared then to write our ESSA plan, our ESSA plan. This work just folds directly into it. So it's so nice that the work we're doing in one place is going to feed the work for something else for a change. That's really a benefit of our time and energies. So looking at this visual, if we agree that we want a student-focused learning system in our state, a student-focused learning culture in our state, that we're going to need to have an accountability system that is flexible enough to allow that to happen, and flexible enough to allow it to look differently for different schools, for different grade levels, for different regions of the state, but yet comprehensive enough that it clearly articulates to the public how our schools are doing. We know that schools are going to need really rigorous learning standards. We know that they're going to need assessment systems that really measure and clearly articulate students' ability to meet those standards. We know that they're going to need a really deep, rich opportunity to hire only the best teachers, to make sure that every group of students have only the best teachers in their classrooms. And to have those excellent teachers and leaders in a school, we have to make sure, we have to help them get the right people into the pipeline and get those people licensed. And at the same time, those schools are really going to have to make sure that only the best teaching and learning is going on in those classrooms. If all of that comes together, then our measurement system that looks at performance, student growth, personal competencies, graduation rate, and what kids are doing after K-12 should really be a model for measuring our school systems, and should be a fair model, should be an equitable model. Now, that's kind of the theory of our work, isn't it, as we go forward. So what happened June 1st and 2nd, as you know, 75 team members from the agency met together and began working on really putting the nuts and bolts to this plan. In previous time, there have been plans written at the department, and sometimes those plans have been written by external evaluators. Sometimes those plans have been written by the leadership team, but seldom, if ever, have the real ADE team, the full ADE team, been involved in writing those plans. In fact, when I was working in the professional development unit some years ago, we were asked to align our work to the ADE plan. And my first response was, what plan? I'd never seen it. And I was a unit leader, and I had not seen it. The wonderful thing about the way we're going about this is, from the very beginning, we're all involved. We're all writing the plan. The commissioner's not writing the plan and telling us. We're all writing the plan and telling him. This is how we want our agency to operate. So we worked together. We took those goals. We had our strategies. We wrote milestones for year 1 and year 2. We'll write them for every year. And we set about writing action plans. There's a picture of our commissioner talking to the group that met together June 1st and 2nd. Some of them working together in cross-divisional and cross-unit teams. Our facilitator, Carrie White, from the South Central Comprehensive Center. And, of course, you know 3 of them in there. Jennifer Watson standing next to Commissioner Key, Carrie White standing next to me, Allison Leyland, and then Sam Redding. And many of you know Sam Redding's name because he was also the person that from the Building State Capacity Center that we've been working with that created IndaStar that School Improvement uses. So same people we're working with to create better tools for state departments. So, as another part of our transparency, our commitment to transparency, if you go to the Arkansas Employee Intranet under Contacts on the ADE's website, we're going to go there. Arjit has put together 3 buttons for you that you can access, and the first button, the orange button, says, the title is Okay, so if you're a unit leader assigned to writing an action plan, then you have a login number that takes you there, and we'll go there in a minute, to go into behind the system and begin putting in the action plans. So when people met June 1st and 2nd, they wrote out those action plans. Those action plans are entered into an online system, and this is the access to. Is that green? Green button in the middle says all team members, 410 ADE employees have access to the full report. So and then the purple button says SPM working documents. All 410 employees have access to the working documents, and those are just, you can go in and see what's going on, who's working on things, when we're meeting. All of that information is very public. So 75 people came together to write the action plans, but it really involves everyone. And so as we go through this, I'll tell you how everyone is involved. Let's click on the green button and view the report. So this report is today's report. It's not static in that as people continue to work on the action plans, the reports will continue to expand or change. This was just our first draft. So for each goal, there are strategies. For each strategy, there are milestones. And for each milestone, there is an action plan. So in this particular one, the nomenclature is very simple. Goal 1, strategy 1, so it's 1-1. Milestone 1, so it's 1-1-1. And then the actions begin numbered. The system automatically numbers the actions. So if you kind of scroll up to that just a little bit, you'll see that Tommy Coy and his unit is the one responsible for making sure that action 1111 is implemented. Now, that doesn't mean they have to do it on their own. That means they're responsible for getting it done. That means they've got to reach out to whoever is going to help collaborate on this. They need to reach out to whoever needs to be informed of this to work on that action plan. But somebody has to be the responsible person for making sure the work gets done. You'll see that the timeline for that, you'll see that right now it's only numbering those as they're entered into the system. They're working on new features to this. We are the only state using this system. It's being built as we work on it. And as we ask for things, they're creating that in the system. So it's brand new. It's just like anything brand new that's just being built for the first time. It has a lot of things that need to be tweaked on it. One of the things we've asked for is that those actions be ordered in the order of the timeline. The action number won't change because that's when it enters, when you enter it into the system, it automatically gives it an action number so it can be tracked. But they'll be reordered by the months so that it follows the timeline for which we'll be following. So what I encourage you to do is to pull up this report, look at it. Certainly if you need to make a printed copy, it's 15 or 16 pages long. But I would encourage you not to make a copy and think that's the final document because we have still a lot of work to do on it. But it's certainly there, and I do encourage everyone to go in and begin reading it and studying it. And we'll be doing this all throughout the year, really reading and studying this report because it really is an example of the work that's going on in this agency. So sometimes things are going on in the agency and the people that work here are the last ones to know about it, right? You've been out there. I've been in the field when a school says, what about so-and-so? And you're like, you try not to look surprised, but you are because you've never heard anything about it. Well, now there's an opportunity for you to go in there and learn. So if you want to know what's going on in this agency, and as a productive team member, I would encourage you to know what's going on in this agency by studying this document. All right, if you'll take us back. So, Kim, I'm going to ask you to log in. You're a unit leader. If you'll log into the orange button and just kind of give them a quick view of what it looks like for you. And when you wanted to go in and work on your action plan, what did you do?
Okay, so Tiffany's already got me logged in here. So as a unit leader, so to avoid confusion with multiple people within a unit, adding multiple documents, one person from each unit will actually have access to the system to go in and make changes. So with me logged in, I've been assigned to 2 milestones, one under goal 4 and one under goal 5. So what we did is, if you want to click on the second one called action plans, we had to develop in our unit action plans for these 2 goals. And if you just take the first one, goal 4, and it drills down to what the strategy is. And if you'll click select under strategy, it shows you the milestones specifically that we needed to develop action plan for. So by clicking on that, and this just gives you guys a behind the scenes look of how the system works. So you guys will see the front end of it. This is the back end of it. So really we start with goal, we go down to strategy, then comes milestones. And then what our team did in those 2 days out at the ranch in June is we developed action steps for the specific milestone. So for instance, on this one, milestone 4.2.2, it talks about communicating the purpose, process, and timeline regarding data collection. The beauty of the system and being grouped in the same room with other people who have the same goal or similar milestone was because we can't do this milestone until 4.2.1 gets done. So that allowed us the opportunity to talk with 4.2.1, which was a Regent staff, and find out what their timeline was, and then mapped our timeline to theirs. So this all definitely connects and it goes hand in hand. But what we did is on ours, once they get the first milestone completed or close to completion, we'll begin our action steps that will coincide with theirs. And if you want to just click on that first one, Tiffany, it drills down even further. So for instance, on our first action step, we're to implement a communications plan regarding this. And you can scroll down and kind of see our timeline, see who within our unit is going to be responsible for who we're going to collaborate with. And in some cases, the collaboration is going to be across units. It's not going to be just the communications unit's job to make sure this is implemented. There are some things that are going to be done just within your unit, but then there are other things on some of the other action steps that are going to involve not just communications, but it's going to involve Holly Glover, a Regent, and some other staff. So as you look at that accessible report on the intranet, take a look at that. As Deb said, it's going to change. It's fluid. We're going to be doing some more work. Deb's going to talk about some timelines and stuff on that. But this just gives you a behind-the-scenes look as to how these action steps were put together. And really, the big aha moment I had coming away with it was really just how they all interacted. Because as we started on this one, we realized, wait a minute, this is good. We can't do this until we collaborate with the other group. So it's all about working together on this, and I think we've got a good start.
I think we have an amazing start. Okay, if you'll take us back, Tiffany, I want to show them the purple. Is that purple? The purple button. The purple button takes you to a Google Doc. The Google Doc on this one says leads and collaborators. This is for our year 1 milestones. Who's been assigned? Actually, people self-assigned. Which one did they want to work on? And then if you'll go to assignments, the tab at the bottom. Those assignments were pre-made by the assistant commissioners where they thought the milestones might fall. Of course, once people got in there to working, sometimes they said, no, wrong place. This needs to be moved to a different unit to take the lead. If you'll go to supporting documents. Supporting documents are just the materials that we're using in this work. If you look at the top, there's our goals and strategies. It's just that short page that I've sent you before in previous communications. The goals, strategies, and milestones, the report that was written and distributed across the nation telling the Arkansas story, a glossary of terms that are used in the system, the manual, and then you'll see things like blank action plans, communication planning guide, and then year 2 milestones. That's where we think we're going next year, but of course those will be adjusted as needed once we get further into this. And then the presentation today, you'll see June 16th PowerPoint is posted there just so that if you lose your email that has it in there, you can always go back to one location and remember everything's in one spot. Below it are just a list of resources I think that Dr. Arola added that people were asking for. If you will go to, if you'll kind of just minimize this, just keep this page up there, but minimize it and go back to our PowerPoint. So that highlights everything we've wanted to be as transparent. Right now, everything's on the intranet because I think you would agree we're not ready to make this public in any way because it's in such a draft form. In fact, when we were working July 1st and 2nd, if you entered something into the online tool and you couldn't erase it, they didn't have a delete button. And so they're working on the delete button. So sometimes you'll go through the full document and you'll read in an action plan and you'll say delete, delete. That's because someone, they messed up and they wanted to get rid of it, but the system wouldn't let them. So we have a long list of things that we've asked the web designer to work on the online tool. So I've included 2 slides, and I realize it's very small for you, but I wanted to get it all on one page. 2 of the things that people have been asking for is, what is the timeline for this work over the next year, and kind of how's that work going to occur? So I've put that on there for you to when you get back to your desk, you can look at those. But basically what I wanted to kind of tell you is the process. So work has been assigned to a unit. So Kim, your unit has been assigned those 2 milestones, 2 action plans to work on. As she said, it may be work that the communication unit can do together, or it may be work that she has to reach out across units, across divisions, and seek collaboration. However, she has a timeline of getting the work accomplished. That work, those meetings occur within the general time period that's laid out in this plan. You as a unit leader, you as a team, set your own schedule of, right now I'd be working on my calendar and saying, here are the days we're going to set aside to work together on these items. That needs to be scheduled now. In addition to that, once a month, the unit team needs to come together and look at the work that's being accomplished and say, close to the end of that month, have we accomplished what we said we were going to get done this month? In the system, there will be a place then for the unit leader to make a notation of, we're on track, we're behind, we have questions, we have issues that we need resolved. It's very simple. It's not a very detailed report. It's just a very short report. Are you on track? Then the division leader, your assistant commissioner, will pull all the unit leaders together at the end of that month and go over those reports and say, as a division, are we on track? The commissioner is so committed to this that we are setting aside days, not a short amount of time, days to meet in the auditorium, and I've set those here for you to look at and go ahead and mark on your calendars, that these are the days that we're going to be here meeting with unit leaders, with division leaders, with anyone who needs assistance on their action plans, on the implementation, not the creating. We're about to move through the creation of the action plans into the implementation stage. What's going on? What barriers do you have? What successes do you have? Let's celebrate. So those days are dedicated in our calendars to make sure that we're here all together. Anyone is invited to come in. We'll set up agendas so that you'll know which goals we're working on those days, but those will be the days for the final review. Are we on track? Did you have your unit meetings? Did you have your divisional meetings during the month? Are we on track to getting this work done? And then as you notice, about January, we're going to start saying, okay, now let's look at year 2 milestones. How are they looking? Do they look right? Do they look like what we're going to work on next year, or do they need to be adjusted? We start that conversation. In March, we start writing action plans for year 2 milestones. Just like we did in June when we wrote action plans for year 1 milestones. In March, we start writing action plans for year 2 milestones. And then in June, we'll be writing milestones for year 3. So we're always working ahead with that work. This performance management cycle is just that. We have to get ourselves into that routine of planning this kind of work, reviewing this kind of work, reporting this kind of work. So if you look back at those 2 slides, what you're going to see are dates, those same exact dates, but plans for reports to the staff about our progress, and then reports to the public about our progress. How are we doing? If we said we're going to live this plan, then we've got to really live it. Now, that means sometimes there'll be adjustments. Sometimes we may get into our action plan 3 or 4 months and go, well, we've left a big piece out. So we put it in. We've left out a couple of steps. We write them in. Or we may realize these steps aren't in the right order, or we've got additional steps we need to add, or some steps we need to take out and move to next year. We do that because it's our plan. So, I am committed to you. I hope that you are committed to this plan as well. Some have not actually completed their action plans. I hope that you are working on those as unit leaders, and that you pull your teams together at your convenience to get those entered. But I will be in this room July 1 and 8th for anyone who wants to come in and work on action plans. Anyone that wants to come in and talk about this work, that has any confusion, that wants to know more. It's critical that all 410 employees of this agency understand this plan, be a part of this plan, can talk about this plan. So I invite you to join me in this room July 1st, July 8th at your convenience, any part of the day, all of the day, whatever fits your needs. I'm going to be here to assist you in any way that I can. So I'm going to ask you, Tiffany, to come back to that document, to the Google Doc that we minimized. And at the bottom you see agendas. So I've set a tentative agenda for those days, giving about an hour and a half per goal. So that way you don't have to come sit all day. You're welcome to sit with me. I'd love to visit with you all day. But we're going to be talking about goal 1 from 8 to 9:30 both days. So if you can't be here on July 1st, but you can be here on July 8th, come on in and we'll work on it together. If you're on goal 2, we'll be meeting from 9:30 to 11. Any or all part of that time, whatever fits you. Any questions, comments? I'd love to hear from some of the people that have been working on action plans. How's it been? What did you learn? What was hard? What was easy? Sherry, you were there.
Well, one of the things we learned was we have a lot to learn. And so the documents that Dr. Arola has put on that resource page of that Google Doc, I think would be helpful to all of us in this room, because it talks about personalized learning, it talks about the competencies, benchmarks, a lot of Dr. Redding's work and other researchers. It talks about schools that have been, or districts that have been doing this for as many as 5 years. And so I feel like I need to get my background knowledge really built so that I can talk and contribute to the group's work effectively. And I think that's one really good entry point for me.
The coaching that we get from Carrie and Jennifer and Allison and Sam were just invaluable to me as well. I'll tell you, one of the things that happened to me is as I was writing my action plan, I had 46 steps, and Carrie said, no. No. An action step should take about a month or more. And she said, if you can get it done in less than a month, it's probably not an action step. It needs to be combined. And so if you go back and look at the ones, don't go back, but if you go back and look at the two that I gave you examples of, I think I whittled them down to like 7 and 9. But one of them was actually 46 steps. So it can't be that detailed, she said, which was that was really valuable learning for me. Who else?
I think I was voluntold. So for me, and I think the legal staff, this has been a hard process for us because we're asked to do things that require expertise and education that we don't necessarily have. So kind of adjusting to the fact that we may be in charge of a particular milestone, but we're not going to be solely responsible is good and comforting, because it gives us the opportunity to reach out to the experts so that they can tell us and give us feedback that will drive the milestones that we're responsible for. So the process has been hard because I think we're used to, and a lot of units are used to really being siloed and saying, okay, this is the work we have to do, these are the people that we have to do it, but this process allows for so much more.
I'll echo that from communications, because a lot of what we do, we're not the education experts, but we do have to rely on you guys who are the experts to help us communicate that message. So I'll echo that.
And I think part of that, I said earlier that we're trying to change the culture of ADE. I don't know about you, but I was so dissatisfied in the silos that we had built that didn't allow us to reach out to the people who were so expert in things to collaborate on things. And this really breaks down those invisible walls that have been created over time. Who else? We had a big accountability group over there. And voluntold one of them, Kim. Miss Banks is sitting over there. Miss Banks, you were there. Tell us.
I have to let Mr. Farron talk about that. He's so good at that.
Well, we have to design an e-accountability system because the U.S. Department of Ed came out with their new education law. So this is really good timing for us. We had to do it anyway, so this is a perfect place to do it in, is to lay out the plans for how to develop the new system.
It's really an efficiency model this way, isn't it?
Yes.
Because we're all using our best time, and you have all of our attention and collaboration, unlike probably times in the past when maybe you've been charged with writing pieces that by yourself.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I'll piggyback on what Lewis said too. Lewis and I and Dr. Arola just came back from a conference in Arizona, CCSSO conference on ESSA and how to communicate and what we need to do on ESSA. And what I was really excited to hear, specifically going out there on the agenda and then while we were there, is they kept stressing, when you write your ESSA plan, you need to make sure that it fits in with your strategic vision for your state and for your agency. And with us going through this process right now, this is perfect timing, because we're redefining what our vision, our mission, and our action plans and our strategies are. This fits, it's perfect timing. And I was really glad to hear them say that your ESSA plan needs to fit in with your strategic vision. We have the opportunity right now, as we're going through this process, to make sure that that's not written in those silos, that it does go hand in hand, and it must in order for us to meet those action steps.
So in closing today, if you feel like you're not a part of this, the first thing I would say to you is go to the internet, pull up the report, and begin reading and see where you are a part. Talk to your unit leaders, talk to the unit leader that's in charge of the action plans, and tell them you want to be involved. If you remember back on that Google Doc, people were assigned, the 75 that came, we didn't tell them which thing you needed to work on. They signed up for the one they were interested in, the one they wanted to be a part of. And it was so interesting. I was talking to Alexandra Boyd, and she said, I'm so excited. I've picked, and she picked a milestone that I would have never picked for her. But she said, I'm really passionate about the work that's going to be developed here, and I want to be a part of it. And I thought, isn't that the beauty of this process? Is before, she would have never been included. But now, she got to include herself. So if you want to be a part of this plan, include yourself. Read, contact people, say, hey, I want to help with that. I want to learn more about that. If you need assistance, July 1st, July 8th, we'll be in this room. Thank you all so much, and I am so proud of this work and so proud of you. Thank you.